I'm a reporter, and I've heard the complaint. I don't watch the news or I don't read the news because it's simply too depressing. Well, it doesn't have to be. My mission is to bring you news you can use. Good news. In this episode, there's the laughter you'd find here in a comedy club. Then, there's a life-changing lesson we learn here in kindergarten. Most of us take it for granted, but statistics show failing to learn this lesson puts many on the path to prison. So here's the good news. One loud little man has found a way to deliver that lesson to the children who need it most, and he's doing it in the most unlikely place. There is no city bigger or busier than New York, even on a rainy day. This hustle and bustle is enough to intimidate anyone.
Right now, my number one fear in living in New York City is standing on a subway platform and an unidentified liquid dripping on my lip. That bloop, that's what keeps me up at night.
Meet Alvin Irby. He traded his small town for the bright lights of the big city and a shot at a career as a stand-up comedian.
After coming to New York, Googling myself, finding out there's another Alvin Irby, I was like, this dude can't be funnier than me. And so I was like, I need to go out and show the world who the real Alvin Irby is.
I look at you and hear you, and I keep hearing and thinking about Richard Pryor.
Every time I perform, and now that you mention it, I feel like it's gonna probably try and come out even more. But every time I perform, people tell me, oh, you sound just like Richard Pryor. Like, oh my goodness, is he your dad? I'm like, no, my mom is not that adventurous.
I grew up in one of America's most dangerous cities. Y'all know what city I'm talking about. Give it to me. Little Rock, Arkansas, that's right. That's where I'm from.
Long days for you. Right now, it's about what time?
It's 11.
It's 11 p.m. We are in Hoboken in a theater after you were number 8, next to last, in a comedy competition. How often are you doing these kinds of things?
I mean, a few times a week. I have some really, late nights. I do have early meetings sometimes, but not as early as when I was teaching kindergarten. I would come into the classroom and some of my students would be using the college words I taught them against me, right? So I'm in the classroom and yawns, they're one of the most contagious things on the planet. So imagine I have a classroom, right, full of students, they're all sitting on the rug and I yawn, all of a sudden the whole class is like, right? And then one of the students says to me, Mr. Irby, you look lethargic. I'm like, little girl, don't be focused on my countenance. You need to focus on your reading.
You were a kindergarten teacher for a while.
Yeah, I taught kindergarten. I taught first grade. I also taught, I was an assistant teacher in a 4th grade class, yeah.
So you were doing comedy and teaching at the same time?
Yep, at the same time. Yeah, I would go and tell jokes. I would teach by day, tell jokes by night. That was what I was doing.
Alvin isn't in school these days, but he is still teaching in multiple classrooms. That brings us to Harlem, where Alvin's bright idea unites boys, books, and barbershops.
You taught for how long?
I taught for 4 years.
Did you see confidence missing in kids at any of those places?
I mean, definitely. I remember a kid, brilliant kid, named Deshaun. I remember one day I walked up to him, right, during math. I'm like, Deshaun, you're a great mathematician. He looked at me and said, I'm not a mathematician, I'm a math genius. I said, okay, Deshaun, okay, all right. Yep, you are, right? But the same kid, during reading, told me, Mr. Irby, I can't read and I'm never gonna learn to read. Same kid. And I taught him how to read, but there are like millions of Deshaun's out there who are convinced that reading isn't for them. And that's really part of what drove me to start Barbershop Books because I believe that something could be done.